maximize the ROI on data center operations, cooling and power management for cost cutting. And for this, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Sandeep V Dandekar, who is the Senior Director at NTT Global Data Centers. Giving a brief introduction, Sandeep is a techno-commercial professional with over 35 plus years of global work experience and wide-ranging exposures in domains such as manufacturing, oil and gas, IT/ITES, and cloud and data centers. He's one of the veteran voices and faces in the data center world. With this, let's welcome Mr. Sandeep with a big round of applause.
How are all of you? Great. So, wonderful to be here, wonderful to be in front of you. I'm going to keep this like an interactive session, like a chat session, not like a monologue. I don't think if we look at this room, we easily have few hundred years of work experience. So, I don't think I have any fruit that I'm going to bring from Mars which you will eat and some new knowledge will come to you. There is nothing as such. Also, I have noticed one more aspect after I came here, and I'm going to quickly adopt that in my points that I'm going to cover or the area that I'm going to emphasize on. We have very few core DC players here or DC people. I see most of DC service providers representation and customer representation. So I will not focus so much about how do we optimize chiller, how do we optimize PDU, how do we actually raise the service hall temperature and all that, because that makes more sense if we have people who operate data centers, which I believe we don't have many people from that profession here. Nonetheless, ROI is something which is a part of our life, whether you are a service provider to the data center or you are a customer organization, you are a CTO or CIO from customer organization. And often we have seen, or I have seen, what does not work easily or what causes a lot of pain, subjectivity and push-pull in the ROI is working in isolation. You have different silos, you have little disconnects, and the concept of ROI, the understanding of ROI is not synchronized between the involved stakeholders, and that's where a lot of pain, disconnect, variance in perception comes. So I will try and address that aspect, which will be applicable to anyone irrespective of the type of organization you are from. So why not start with a laughter? Why not start with a smile? In the life of how many of you this happens? One of them is you and one of them possibly your CFO. Who would say it's you here? All the CTOs, all the CIOs? This is a part of life of all of us. And no brainer, who is this person here? Is the CFO. And this is what we keep on battling. So when you talk about any technological investment, there are three types of investments broadly. One which is yet to be taken up, you are interested in doing, you are interested in taking up that technology initiative, and you want to discuss about pros and cons, why should it be done, is it a preferred thing, is it a must thing, right? Second is initiative, which is WIP, work in progress, and you are in the process of implementing certain initiative. And the third is the initiative which is implemented and is supposed to now show results, right? These are the three things around which the whole ROI myth or math, whatever. If it works well, it is math. If it doesn't work well, then it is a myth. So that's it. Now, if we see, the only constant today, and it is a no-brainer, is the change, right? The only constant today in our life is the change. And because of this continuous change, you have to implement technological innovations, you have to bring in new technology to address this. Everybody would like to stay ahead of the curve, if not ahead, at least with the curve. Nobody wants to be a lagger. And we have learned this hard lesson from COVID, sir. All the organizations which had not taken enough initiative, had not done enough investments towards mobility, towards cloud, were overnight struggling. And this, nobody wants that thing to repeat with themselves. So everybody now is on an accelerated path of trying to invest in technology well ahead of time, before really it hurts. So the change comes from multi-dimensions, multiple sources. It comes from market, it comes from customers, it comes from competition, it comes from vendors, it comes from obsolescence of processes, right? It comes from happiness index of your employees, it comes from customer experience. So it is multifaceted. It comes from various sources. It comes from multiple dimensions. What is the speed of change? We all know that in physics, acceleration is the last terminology. You have displacement, you have velocity, and you have acceleration. There is nothing beyond acceleration. But today, if you really see, the science won't agree, but even the acceleration is accelerating, right? So it is that kind of a pace that we are all handling. So this change leads to disruption. Some of these, as I said, you initiate a disruption if you are leading the change, or you try and be an early rider, or you try to catch up to set up new normals. Now, this is typically what happens. There is one head of operations here, one CIO. Now, in this case, because we are not talking about data centers, this will be CTO, CIO of the service provider or customer organizations, and a CFO. He asks you about ROI. All your discussion, all your argument, push, pull, trying to convince each other happens at this silo. And when it comes to your KPI, your performance, it is reviewed by COO and CEO, and they do not talk about these initiatives. What is worth for us? Why should we do? Is that investment worthwhile or not? So this is typically, how many of you have experienced this? That your KPIs, your performance is discussed with CEO or CEO, and your funding approval comes from finance, and they are not in sync. Have you come across, most of you? This is a part of our life. So what do we do then? I mean, do we take it as a fait accompli? Obviously not. There are certain things that, at least in data center, I know that multiple organizations have tried, including ours, and it is working. So I'll share that experience. Now this is a little funny. So how much you want to transform? You as a CTO today, you have to be half CFO. You as a CIO today, you have to be half CFO. But is your CFO trying to become half CTO, CIO? And unless that happens, how are you going to speak a common language? So you look at customer who is changing the requirement. Every cherry that you deliver today becomes an expectation tomorrow. Everything that you do more than a competition today, the competition catches up, that becomes a norm, and you have to do something different again tomorrow. So where is it going to end? So this is a kind of transformation heroes. All of you are simply transforming, you and your team, every day, taking bullets, showing him and chest, and how long it is going to go. So we have to understand what is the role, mindset, skill set, strategy of operations head here in this case CIO, CTO, and how do we transform, how do we migrate? This is obviously this change and the pace is exciting, but it is overwhelming, it is exhausting. And therefore, it is causing a lot of burnout, it is causing a lot of friction instead of results. So the double side of attack we all face is customer experiences are increasing. Like we said, competition, customers ask for more, they compel extra miles, year on year revenue. All of you are seeing that market is becoming more competitive. What got you $5 today gets you $4.50, then gets $4, then there is some disruption. You have to invest in technology that pushes your capital and revenue expenditure higher. Then again, the revenue is shrinking. So while the revenue is shrinking and your input costs are going up, what do? You only have one option, is to innovate, implement some technology, do something that you have not done before, and try and achieve the new normal. So that is where, if we talk about data centers, there is a lot of MEP automation, AI, IoT happening. We are not talking much about data centers because I think there are only 1 or 2 people from data centers here. This is typically a pie of any data center, just for your information: power efficiency, MEP equipment, cost of power, cost of fuel, manpower, AMC spares, security, compliance, downtimes, refurbishments, carbon emission, etc. Now, the target areas for technology and automation investments, and this applies to all of us. There could be 3 different drives because of which you may want to do it. One is reduction in cost, direct, indirect, or TCO, through the design measures. Now, again, this slightly relates to data center, but also I'm sure it relates to you too. Enhancement in precision or accuracy or reliability. So, by technology, either you try to reduce the cost, or you try to improve the reliability of what you are doing, or the accuracy of what you are doing, or maybe both. And the whole thing, there is a drive to be futuristic, there is a drive to be more predictive, more automation driven, less human centric. So these are the 3 levers why you would like technology to be implemented, either one or multiple of them at any time. This is typically a cycle. You initially reduce costs, then you optimize, then you rationalize, and this is the state where you transform. So it's a journey, it doesn't happen overnight, but we have to be very clear that this is a journey, and unless we know, it's like a match. If you want to do 300 runs in 50 overs, you cannot know at 49th or 50th over that you are not going to make it. You need to have milestones, you need to be very clear where you are you pacing it right, are you pacing it not so right, do you need to expedite? So once you have a clear sight of this and you know where exactly you are against time, are you here, what's your phase, then it makes it very easy for you to stay aligned and be able to maneuver, control your journey. This is all data centers, typically like I said, lithium ion batteries, server halls, fan wall units, hot aisle containment, so on. So I will skip this for now. This is again in data center. We know PUE. PUE is one of the most, all of you when you evaluate service providers, you must be thinking about, you must be asking question about PUE. And DCI is the inverse of PUE expressed in percentage. So I will skip these for now, just run through. When we talk about PU measurement, it is done at various levels. One, you do it at IT power measurement at UPS outlet, then you do it at PDU outlet, and then you do it at device level. So in all three, you would like to be as efficient as possible to have the overall PUE as desired. These are some energy efficient. Now, I will skip this for now. If any interest, we can come back. This is about hot aisle containment. How do you, you prevent loss of cooling? How do you achieve prevention of mix of hot and cold streams, etc. So I'm jumping because we don't have many people from DCs. Okay, here we are. So all this makes it very vital to define an ROI and demonstrate it as achieved, because some of the initiatives which are implemented, your CFO, when you go to him for an approval of next spend, he will ask you questions about what is implemented. He will say, when you came to me for this proposal, I gave you funding, you have now implemented, I want to see the results before I give you the next funding. So by then you have to have ROI metrics, you have to have a shared mindset where your language and CFO's language you each other understand. So if that works, as I said, it is ROI math. If it doesn't work, it becomes a myth. It becomes a lot of pain area. Receiving spend approvals, is it a dialogue or collaboration? What is your experience? Is it a dialogue, is it a collaboration, or is it a straight line disconnected kind of a dialogue that you have with your CFO? Most of the times it is a disconnected dialogue which is misaligned. So we need to change that. Otherwise it becomes drama filled with trauma. I mean, every spend approval for technology, we don't want that to be drama with trauma, right? So how the role, mindset, skill of operations head or CTO, CIO, like we said, are transforming. Calculating and committing, providing the achieved ROI of automation or technology, brick and mortar, this is about DC, has to be done. Some challenges include, now this is where I'm sure all of you come across these challenges. We have constant changes, new investments before meeting. Now this is very important. Because of the speed of change, what happens most of the times is you embark upon a journey of a particular technology initiative. Let's say your ROI horizon is 3 years. Now midway, somewhere at 14th month, 18th month, something disrupts. And either you have to reinvest to add on to that initiative, or you have to change your journey, treat that maybe as thing that you won't like to progress and have to migrate to something else. Now this change comes from macros, which is beyond your control. So as I said, midway, either you may have to augment, you may have to put in more funding because there is some change in the environment. You have to go back to CFO. He doesn't understand this. So this is very, very crucial, that what happens and how do you convince your finance managers about an investment which needs augmentation, enhancement midway. Difficulty measuring in results in numerics. Now it is very difficult to have numbers for most of the things. If it is, let's say, employee satisfaction, customer satisfaction, you may have some indicators, you may have some indices, but these are again not the numbers that your CFO understands. It may be opportunity cost. Today you are not able to get some business, maybe some segment of customers you are not able to attract, you are losing them to your competition because of certain things. You do a change and you are able to achieve lesser loss or more gains. So you could prevent losses, which means if you have to give service credit to a customer, if your service does not meet an SLA, if you see that there is some repetitive kind of a root cause which is causing that issue, and the technology is going to plug that, that's also one of the ROIs. It takes time to settle to the new normal. CFOs and head of operations are not aligned on knowledge and goals, maybe working in isolated silos. So what I have seen is, if we form a COE, Center of Excellence, if you form a POC, a lab to test, all these variables, I will run quickly to the summary because we have 5 minutes more. So from the straight line approach, from the isolated approach, from the siloed approach, if you are able to do a synergized kind of a machine which works in collaboration, which means you have to invest in training of leadership. I'm saying you have to invest in team building and collaboration of leadership, because CFO and CTO, CFO and CIO, they have to be able to in the mind space of collaboration, which means you as a CTO must understand why and what a CFO is saying, what are his reasons. If he says no, why is he saying? He has to manage a balance sheet and you have to manage something else. So if you are able to collaborate, if there is a center of excellence, if you start a QBR, let's say a quarterly business review, a scheduled review with your CFO, where all the 3 initiatives, one which you want to take up, one which is WIP, and WIP you must manage like a project. I have also seen during the implementation of any technological initiative, very rarely I have seen that being done as a project management. It is done in an amateur manner, it is done in a manner that possibly that team lead or the R&D guy understands. But we don't do it as a project management. So one, that piece has to be handled. And the third, when you go for next request, you must have very clear data on what have been the returns of your previous investments to the CFO. So how do you make it structured? How do you make it streamlined, seamless? Is you set up a schedule with your CFO of a QBR. You set up a lab, you set up a POE culture, PUC culture. So there is nothing like relative, there is nothing like undefined, and that's the only thing that works. So it's never as easy as ROI that you click a button and here is an ROI. It's a very complex understanding where all the stakeholders need to know why the money has to come, where is the, obviously nobody has infinite money, you have limited money and you have to prioritize that money. You also have a pressure to show the returns of that money, that's where your CFO comes from, and you have to make sure that your product, your services remain sustainable, they remain better, they remain with time, they remain better than competition. You don't lose customers, you get new customers, your happiness index of your customer is on the rise, all that is your responsibility. So you must be able to gel them together. So ROI needs to be experienced and to become demonstratable in the commercial math, or say experience index. Improved efficiency, reliability, uptime, equipment life, it could be from any of these streams. You could do an initiative for efficiency enhancement, for reliability enhancement, uptime enhancement, or equipment lifespan. Reduced consumption of power, other high cost consumables, reduction in that, improved TCO, the total cost of ownership, customer experience. So more or less we covered these topics. Shared understanding on defining and achieving ROIs, enhanced cross-functional understanding from theory to POC and labs, like we said, from silos to center of excellence and collaborative work groups, leader level task teams must be formed, and you must meet frequently, you must be able to speak each other's language, you must be able to wear each other's cap, only then it works. Otherwise, it will be silo, it will be painful exercise, you will be asked, like we saw in the first slide, there will be a shout, show me ROIs, you will not be able to show ROIs. So this is whole about organization change management essentially, and that's it. So I'm done. Thank you. So my attempt was to quickly change my presentation based on the audience and increase your ROI, because you are investing your time here, you have invested your money, and I wanted to give you maximum ROI. So I did that change quickly. Thank you.